tanto para o YouTube quanto para a sala do Zoom. Agradeço a todos os alunos, as mensagens que tenham recebido. Nós vamos hoje receber já a nossa amiga e grande companheira, sem a qual o curso, não é, professor Thomas, tampouco existiria na sua magnitude, que é a professora Sophie, no seu nome ocidental, que o Thomas vai trazer para nós, e que é, traz para nós uma apresentação que eu acho extremamente importante, e com a capacidade que eu conheço dela de fazer exposição e com conhecimento sobre a China, que talvez ninguém mais tenha. Ela vai apresentar para nós a palestra Latin America and China Need Negotiation, que é, não é o título, né, é a expressão, mas é sobre negociação, sobre cultura latino-americana e técnicas de negociação, principalmente para diplomacia e business. Então, interessa para todos nós. E professora Sophie, I think, Professor Sophie, that you has already started with a concrete evidence of Chinese culture, because you joined us half an hour earlier, as usual, we always do, and think it's really important for us to really experience this Chinese culture in this classes, in this culture. Thank you very much. I will ask for Professor Thomas Lau to introduce you, to make your presentation. And Professor Thomas Lau, please.
Obrigado, professor Vitor. Para mim é uma honra estar aqui ao lado do professor Júlio, organizando esse curso sobre América Latina e China. E nesta nossa aula de hoje, já abrindo os trabalhos, quero fazer aqui menção a quem está conosco hoje, o professor Hector, que está em Pequim. Falou que está muito frio lá em Pequim, né, professor Hector? Okay. E das boas-vindas para a nossa palestrante de hoje, que é a professora Xiaoshu, que tem um PhD, tem doutorado na Alemanha. Já a conheço bastante tempo aqui, já está como diretora do Instituto Confúcio, da FAAP, há alguns anos no Brasil. E também ela é professora de comunicação da Universidade International Business and Economics de Pequim. Estive com a professora Sophie alguns anos, o ano passado, e fomos visitar o reitor desta universidade, professor Vitor, que é a UIB, que eles chamam de UIB em Pequim. E é muito interessante porque dentro desta universidade, eles fizeram um trabalho muito importante da entrada da China para a OMC. Então, existe até um museu enorme com o nome dos professores que fazem parte desta universidade e que ajudaram a China, então, a ingressar na OMC e a tomar as medidas de que a China precisava para entrar no mercado internacional, no mercado global. E foi através desta universidade onde a professora Sophie faz parte, é membra, ela tem as aulas de comunicação. Então, a nossa ideia foi realmente trazer este modelo, esta aula hoje para a Universidade de São Paulo, professor Vitor, com uma pessoa extremamente competente, uma pessoa extremamente com uma cultura tanto do lado oriental da Ásia, como também aqui trazendo a cultura ocidental com eu diria, essa mistura de culturas, que é o programa, a gente visa trazer essa visão da China, e ela vai falar muito da comunicação, da cultura, da postura, da forma que a cultura chinesa tem os seus meios de comunicação, inclusive no campo comercial e no campo acadêmico. Então, sem mais delongas, fazer esse breve comentário e parabenizar desde já esse nosso programa e passar a palavra à nossa palestrante de hoje, a professora Sophie, que vai falar sobre negociação na China. Sophie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Thomas, for the friendly introduction. And thank you, Professor Victor, for organizing all this. And also other participants of today's lecture. Thank you very much. So without much ado, let me start today's lecture. Thank you, Professor Victor, for playing the PPT for me, because somehow it's not working on my side. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm gonna shut off my camera just to people to visualize your image better. But I'm still here.
Don't turn off your camera so that you can see me. And if I would need to go down, I will go this way. Yeah.
No, I see. I can see you. I said my image will not appear. Just
feel free to do whatever you think is necessary.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Okay, now let me start my lecture officially. First of all, I want to say welcome to all those who are on Wolf or on Zoom or on YouTube, on whatever channel you are, and you are welcome. And I'm sure you won't be disappointed by today's lecture, because negotiation is something that everybody needs in our life. As you can see on the screen, I have put the title, Why China? Why Negotiation? For today's lecture. And as the subtopic, I have written Latin America and China need negotiating. On the left of the screen, you can see the two hands shaking together. One is representing the Chinese side, and the other is the Latin American side. Okay, they need a negotiation, friendly negotiation. And the next picture, you can see soybeans. That's the hot topic of today, yeah? Okay, we have a lot of conflicts about soybeans. So you can understand what I'm going to talk about. From the point of negotiation or from the point of communication, you can see I have put all the major points on the first screen of my lecture. So now let's go to the next one, my introduction, my self-introduction. Okay, who am I? Why am I here? To give you some detailed idea, I want to share my resume with you at the moment, and then I will tell you why. I got my bachelor's degree in English at Shanghai International Studies University, China, and my master's at Dalian University of Foreign Languages, China, and my PhD degree at the University of Bonn, Germany, and then my postdoc at Beijing Foreign Studies University, China. Okay, I'm a professor of international intercultural communication at the University of International Business and Economics, China. And I'm now the Chinese director of Confucius Institute. No, I mean, previously I was in Mexico, and now I'm in Brazil. So you can see on this slide that all my experience are related to intercultural communication. Yeah? Okay, next, please. And then some work experience. I was the Fulbright visiting scholar in New York, USA, and I was I still am, the associate director of the International Business Negotiation Association of China, and I'm experienced trainer of intercultural business and communication or business negotiation. I have rich experience in teaching and research. I'm the author of 2 monographs, 4 textbooks, and various research papers. Okay, why am I here? I set up to share with you my rich cross-cultural experience and my expertise regarding negotiation. Okay, that's the time to mention negotiation. You know, in terms of negotiation, whenever you come to a negotiation, people will size you up. I hope you understand this this English phrase. Means that from the moment that people see you, they will judge. They will give you a mental picture of you. Who are you? And why are you here? Okay? So to help you understand why I am here, I have given you a very detailed introduction of myself. You see? So when you go to any negotiation, be sure they will understand you the way you want, not in a wrong way, okay? That's the purpose of my self-introduction. That's the first lesson. If you want to take notes, the first piece of note to take is that go to any kind of a negotiation in the way you want your negotiation partner to perceive you. That's the first point. Okay, what are you going to learn in this mini course? To have a basic understanding of business negotiation. We say business is not necessarily for the purpose of money making. Rather, it is our professional activity or our daily communication. To get to know China or to get to know China better, you need to understand a little bit of its history, its geography, characteristics of Chinese communication, some business etiquettes, and to learn some negotiation skills and tactics. Okay, just now I actually asked the question, why did I introduce the way I did? I said the hint is that try to think in terms of business negotiation. Okay, if you want to represent Brazil to negotiate with China, when you go to the negotiation, you should let your partner know who you are, okay? Sometimes the information conveys, you know, it's not just by words, by the way you look, by the way you sit, by the way you talk, and by everything. So the first image the other party has about you is everything, is a combination, okay? That's the point I want to make. Okay, now let me go to this brief history of China's relations with Latin America and the Caribbean countries. From now on, I will call Latin American countries and the Caribbean countries. I will use the 3 letters for short, LAC. Okay, we say, or you should know that People's Republic of China, that is sometimes we call it New China, was founded in 1949. And China began to establish diplomatic relations with the countries in this region starting from the 1960s. So the next 2 slides will show that. The following videos, for example, will give you a better idea on why China and Latin America need each other. Because of time, I won't play the 2 videos here, but you can watch after this class, okay? So next slide, please. We don't play the videos. Okay. China and its diplomatic relations with Latin American and Caribbean countries. Okay, it's in alphabetic order. You can see Argentina, Bolivia, Brazil. Okay, you can see Brazil. We began to have diplomatic relations as early as the 19th century, yeah, the Qing dynasty, okay. And then the diplomatic relations ended somehow, and then we re-established the diplomatic relations, okay? So, and then you see Chile, etc. For Professor Hector, you can see with Ecuador, we established the diplomatic relations in 1946. That was a long time ago. And somehow, you know, there were some interruptions, and for obvious reasons, I won't go to details for that. So that's the first slide of China and its diplomatic relations with Latin America. Okay, next slide, please. With the other countries, Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, etc., you can see. So this is I took from the Wikipedia. If you want to check for details, you can go to that source for more information. Okay, some quotes. China is now the region's second largest trading partner with a bilateral trade maintaining rapid growth of 7 consecutive years. Meanwhile, China's circle of friends in LAC continues to expand. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the first free trade agreement signed between China and LAC, et cetera, et cetera. I won't finish I won't finish everything reading, but you can see now, you know, during this the 14th five-year plan, and you can see where your country is in terms of diplomatic relations with China. Okay, now comes to the hot topic. Okay, I want to ask you guys about the most recent happenings between Brazil and China. Do you know anything, or are you concerned with such hot topics? The first thing I want to ask you is that what is the major trade between Brazil and China? So if I ask you this question, will you be able to say something? The second question is, what has happened so far this year between the two countries? Okay, when did President Lula visit China, and what has happened afterwards? If you were the leader in charge of the negotiation of the soybean trade representing Brazil, what would you do and what would you have done? Okay. In fact, if you watch the video today, just before going on to this lecture, I watched the video in YouTube. I was trying to catch what is happening right now. In fact, there was a video that was released a day earlier. Yeah, if you are interested, you can watch that. If you are not so interested in that, you can just watch this video link I put in here for general information. Yeah, okay, that's the benefit. Next, please. Okay, most recent happenings between Argentina and China. So what is the trade volume of Argentina with China? How is it compared to that of Brazil? After Brazil decided to raise prices for the soybeans, which were intended to export to China, what did the Argentinians do? If you were the person in charge of negotiation of soybean exports from Brazil to China, how would you handle the trilateral economic relations? So again, I have put two links here for your reference. You know, this soybean issue is vital for Brazil in terms of that it is important for the farmers in Brazil. So if you were the person who were put in this position to negotiate on behalf of Brazil, what would you do? If you have never thought about that, start thinking now. It's not very late yet. Okay, next, please. Okay, why China? Why negotiation? I want to say that to satisfy mutual needs, that's the first thing, why China and Latin America needs negotiation. And the second is to promote mutual understanding. And the third is cooperation stands for a bright future. Okay, if you say, I won't cooperate with anybody, you don't have any future, believe me. In order to cooperate, Latin America and China need to negotiate with each other. To know yourself and to know your counterpart in negotiations, so you can negotiate better. Remember how I introduced myself and what I said after my self-introduction. I said, you should know yourself and you should let your counterpart know you so that you can negotiate better. That's why you need to understand who you negotiate with, how to develop your strategies, how to plan your tactics, and how to strengthen your negotiation skills. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to take any notes, this is the sentence where you can take notes. That's the second piece of note. That is to learn negotiation. you need to understand what is the negotiation strategy, what is the tactic, and how to strengthen your negotiation skills. Okay, first of all, you need to understand China a little bit more. If you say, I already know China, that's great. Okay, but still, if you know a little bit more, it doesn't harm. Okay, next, please. So about China, I will introduce two things, or in two parts. The first is a brief geography and history, and the second is some cultural facts and basic business etiquettes. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry about the noise in the background because someone upstairs is renovating their apartment. And also outside, you can see hear some construction noise. This is a good sign for Brazil because the people have a lot of money. Otherwise, they wouldn't do that. Okay.
Perfect, Professor. Just for us, for hearing us, is perfect. It's just a little noise behind, not a problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Victor. So let's continue. Oh, I'm sorry. Why is this way? It's a little bit anyway, it doesn't matter. I want to say this is the map of China, the whole country, and its administrative areas, provinces, municipalities, and autonomous regions. Altogether, we have 34 units, or some are provinces, and some are autonomous regions, and 4 are municipalities, and we have Hong Kong and Macau. They call the SAR, Special Administrative Regions. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I want to draw special attention to this map. In the right-hand corner, lower corner, you can see the little map. Yeah. Okay. That's the complete map of China. China is in the form of a cock, but a cock has to have legs. You see, that's the part of legs of China. China's territory extends till the South China Sea. Actually very near the equator. So if you see a map mainly with the body part of China, it's not correct. So this is the complete map of China, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Okay, you must understand that. If you see a map, okay, Professor Victor, next slide, please. This is the English version of the map of China. As you can see, it only shows the main body of the cock without the legs. So this is not right. If you see maps of China this way, it is the wrong way. I have taken this map for the purpose of the comparison so that you can compare what is the complete one, what is the incomplete one, okay? Okay, great. Okay, next please, the 3 steps. Okay, in terms of topography, China is not a flat land. So it's this way, we say 3 steps. So the part along the coastline is relatively flat. It's only 500 meters or under about sea level. And the middle part is a little bit higher than that. Usually it's between 1,000 and 2,000 meters above sea level. But the highest part, that is the roof of the world, is more than 4,000 meters above sea level, okay? It's mainly Shanghai and Tibet. So we call it the Qingzhang Gaoyuan, Shanghai and the Tibet Plateau. So if you know, if you compare that to Brazil, you can see the same thing. In Brazil, the land along the coastline is a little bit flat, but then the mountain area, and then it's a little bit higher. The same thing in China. So we call that the topography of China, the 3 steps. Next, please. Humanistic geography, distribution of some larger minorities in China. Okay, you will see on the next slide. And also some minorities have their own festivals and dressing habits, which are decided by tradition and the climatic factors. Some minorities even have their own writing systems. Okay, in other words, if you want to understand China, if you think Chinese look all the same, that's a wrong concept because we have some minorities, okay? It's like in Brazil, you have indigenous people, you have people from other origins, okay? It's the same thing in China. Okay, next, please. So this is the ethnic group distribution in China. As you can see, the major part of dark green and a little bit yellow. That's the Han of the Han ethnic group. The rest represent the minorities. This picture is a little bit blurred. I'm sorry about that. But you can see, you can find pictures like this on YouTube and Google and everywhere. You can see the ethnic group distribution in China. In other words, not all Chinese look alike, okay? Not everybody in China is a Han Chinese. We have 56 ethnic groups in China. So main data of the 7th national population census, you can see the population. And so I won't go to detail for that. It has the link here. If you are interested, you can check for yourself. Okay, the next part I want to mention a little bit about its history, the dynasties. You often hear the word dynasty, right? The Chinese history is divided into dynasties, a period whereby the country is ruled by one royal family. Okay, you can see the earliest history starts from the Shang dynasty. That is the 1766 to 1122 before Christ. Shang dynasty, and then Zhou, and the spring and the fall period, and the Qin dynasty, Warring States period, Qin, Han, 3 kingdoms, Sui dynasty, Tang dynasty, and the 5 dynasties and 10 kingdoms, and then Song dynasty, Yuan dynasty, Qing dynasty, and Ming dynasty, and then finally Qing dynasty. Okay, until the year 1911. Okay, from 1911 to 1949, for what happened in China from this period, you can watch that video. And this period is called the Republic of China. Right now, after October the 1st, 1949, it's called the People's Republic of China. Got it? It's a new era in history. Okay. So that's the second piece of the third or fourth piece of note you should take is that New China starts from 1949. Okay. Now let me say something about the characteristics of Chinese people's communication. We say China is mainly under the influence of Confucian culture. If you understand the concepts, the following concepts: faith, 关系 or relationship, harmony, hierarchy, 人情 or reciprocity, you can find numerous videos on these topics. You will do a better job in China, especially in terms of negotiation. If you understand the faith, how to live faith for the other party, for your negotiation partners, how to cultivate 关系 with them, how to maintain harmony, how to respect hierarchy, how to pay back 人情 or reciprocity, you will do a much better job than if you don't. Also, characteristics of communication. You know, people, when they talk in Chinese, paralinguistic features mean a lot. Paralinguistic, you can understand the word from its composition. Para means together with. Linguistic, you already know the meaning, right? Okay, that is the other features that go with the main dialogue. Okay, tones may convey negative meanings in Chinese, but it may not be equally true in English. So if someone asks me, how is the student so and so? I said, it's okay. You know, actually I'm translating the tone I'm using in Chinese into English. If I say he's okay, or if I say he's okay, or I say he's okay. You see, you can tell the difference. Okay, the first okay is quite okay. The second okay is not so okay as the first one, but the third okay is actually not okay. You understand? That's the importance of tone of Chinese people. Even though they were talking in English, they will convey this paralinguistic feature notion into the language they use. So you have this consciousness that will help you, okay? Understand the tones that the Chinese people use will help you get some benefits in negotiation. Facial expressions may convey different meanings in Chinese versus in English. Okay, in negotiations, don't try to rely on facial expressions exclusively, because even though I'm thinking about something, I may put on a facial expression that looks calm. You can't tell anything from my facial expression. Or even if I put on a sad face or a frown in my face, it may not convey the same kind of meaning. Otherwise, you will understand the Chinese people wrongly. Sometimes facial expressions even convey the opposite meaning of what they are thinking. Got that? That's the next piece of note you should take today. Pay attention to facial expressions and also pay attention to the tones that the Chinese people use in business negotiations. Will help you do a better job. Okay. And for this slide, also the face, 关系, harmony, hierarchy, and 人情. If you don't understand these concepts, spend some more time finding videos on these topics. If you understand them, you will do a better job, believe me. Because of time, I can't go to details about any one of them, but each one deserves a separate lecture. Next, please. Okay, Chinese people, Chinese philosophy in doing business. You know, when I was giving a training on negotiation for some entrepreneurs, they asked me, they said, why are you doing this training for free? Why are you, you know, we don't understand China. Why are they doing the things they are doing? I thought about it, and then I came up with a sentence which reads in Chinese, 穷则独善其身，达则兼善天下. That is, be good on your own when you are poor and share with others when you are rich. We are not completely rich, not very rich yet. Still, we want to share what we have with the rest of the world. That's our philosophy, okay? So the following videos will help you understand better the Chinese philosophy concerning business. So again, you know, I spend a lot of time preparing these PPTs, and I also find the links for you guys, so you can watch after this class, okay? Business etiquette, introduction and self-introduction in negotiation settings. Okay, rules. rank and status. Okay, we in China respect the hierarchy a lot more than you think. So we pay a lot of attention to rank and status. When we enter a door, let's say we enter this door. The order of doing it is that the person with the highest rank enters first, and then followed by the second highest in rank, etc., until the lowest. Okay. So if you are the host, usually you enter last. Okay, you open the door for the rest of the visitors, and you let them in one by one, according to their rank and position, and then you enter last. Okay, and then if you don't know the rank and status, you do it according to age, from old to young. China is a special country. In China, if you say you are old, it doesn't mean you are useless. It means you are full of experience. Yeah. Okay. And sometimes we have a saying. We say, you know, at my age, even I have crossed more bridges. Okay, if we add all the bridges in miles, it's longer than the roads you have covered, something like this. But it doesn't mean this person is really old and useless. It means that this person is full of wisdom and experience. Okay, firmness of handshake. When we shake hands with each other, usually we shake this way with once or twice before we let the other hand go. If you touch it and let go, it means you are very polite, or you are impatient, or you look down upon the other person. Yeah. So we shake the hand this way once or twice before you let the other hand go. Okay. And the handshake versus rank and position. Usually the person who has a higher rank reaches out first, and then you reach out to shake his or her hand. Okay, that's the way. Small talk usually follows in the business negotiation settings, especially something like, oh, how was the flight? How was the weather in São Paulo? Something like this. Yeah, did you have a good flight? Handing over name cards, we usually do it with both hands. When we hand over name cards, we do it with both hands. Okay, and also, I'm sorry, I don't have a name card here, but I will describe for you. We usually hand over the name card with both hands this way, and you accept also with both hands. And usually in the direction of which the receiver can read it, not in your own direction. Yeah, the words should be in the direction friendly for the receiver. You don't give the card this way and then you accept that way and you put it away in your pocket. That's a wrongdoing. That's not good. And in terms of language, if it has a local language or English, usually is in the international language, the English side or the local language side should be facing up. In China, if your name card has a Chinese version, if you use the Chinese version, facing up, that will be good. And addressing the giver by rank or position, we say, oh, Mr. So-and-so, or Professor so-and-so, or Dr. so-and-so, or manager so-and-so, or engineer so-and-so, and then address him or her by this position. It's a safer way, because if you address this person by some other names and positions, it may be wrong. It's the safe way of talking. And then the next thing to pay attention is to studying the name card before putting it away or in the, okay. When I receive a name card, I say, oh, Professor Victor Gabriel, and professor at WUSB. Oh, wow, the WUSB is a very, very well-known institution in Latin America, or the best in Latin America, something like that, yeah? You read the card and you comment by one or two sentences before you put away. In negotiation situations, if you receive 5 name cards, you put them according to the position they sit. So you can address everyone by the right name and the position. Okay, so putting it on the negotiation desk in the order of their seating sequence. Okay, and then nowadays in China we all use WeChat, so you can add a WeChat and then your business digital name card. That will be great. If you have a WeChat account, it means that you understand China and you really want to do business with the Chinese.
Professor Sophie, can I ask a question? Just sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Just about the handshaking and hierarchy. So I must wait the person with the higher hierarchy to offer hand for a handshake. Is that or no?
Yeah, you know, sometimes you don't have to wait because the person who has the higher rank will reach out automatically. You know,
okay.
That's our cultural habit. You don't have to remind them deliberately, and they will do it automatically. So that question is not a question at all.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So in terms of business negotiation, usually we have the long table, the picture in the left-hand corner. Okay, but without the chair, in this very picture, you see a chair near the window. But in negotiation situations, we don't put a chair there. It's just the two sides. Okay. If you watch the most recent video on YouTube between China and the United States in South Korea, you can take a look how President Xi Jinping and President Trump, how these teams were seated. You will understand better. Most of the situations in China, you will see that the most important person sits in the middle, followed by one on this side and one on that side by his subordinates. Okay, the most important person in the middle, one on this side and one on this side, etc., etc. Yeah, so that's the seating order. And in fact, for important negotiations, you don't have to worry about that because the working staff will prepare some names. They will place the name on just on top of the desk, so everyone will get a correct position. So that's the negotiating situation. In terms of eating in China, we usually adopt the round table manner. You can see the picture on the right-hand corner. So about this, I want to say something. In China, it's rare for us to go Dutch or do it by the AA standard, as you call it here. Usually, who issues the invitation will pay for everybody at the table. It's not common for us to pay one by one, or your side pays for yours and our side pays for ours. In fact, how do you experience or how do you expect reciprocity in this case? We do it this way. This time, our side or I will represent our team to invite you to dinner or to lunch. Next time, you do it automatically, okay? Without anyone having to remind you of this. You just do it automatically. That's the way we do it. So if you understand this principle, you will do a better job in China. Okay, business etiquette, table manners in China. So when someone serves you tea, you can say thank you in words or 谢谢, okay? But you can also use your two fingers. And then the two fingers do this way. You tap the fingers slightly the table or on the whatever surface where the tea is put. You do it once or twice. That means thank you. Okay. Serving beverages. Nowadays, we do ask our guests what kind of beverages they like. If you say for some reason you don't drink wine or alcoholic drinks, you should let the host know. Usually, if you don't ask, we will serve you alcoholic drinks. The best alcoholic drink in China is a Maotai, you know that, yeah? The best alcoholic drink in China. And serving courses of dishes. Our dishes are carried onto the table in the order of cold dishes, hot dishes, and then the soup. When the soup is carried onto the table together with the rice and the other cereal food, is usually near the end of a banquet. So you should get the signal. Serving cereal food is our tradition. And near the end of the banquet, they will serve rice or fried rice or noodles or dumplings or whatever. You should let the host know or let the waiters or waitresses know what kind of food you like. Okay, if you watch another picture at the lower corner on the right-hand side, you can see two bowls. The first bowl says yes, and the second says no. If you put your chopsticks, because we use chopsticks in China, and it's okay to put it above your bowl. Or usually we have a stand. Let me show you. I happen to have one, yeah, lucky for us. Okay, my little thing is in the form of a fish. You can see that, yeah? So we put our chopsticks, okay. Suppose these are chopsticks. Nowadays, we put our chopsticks this way with a stand, exactly this way. And if we don't have this stand, you can put it on the bowl, that's okay. But not stand your chopsticks inside the rice. That's absolutely wrong, because that way is to honor the dead, okay? So don't commit this cultural error when you go to China for negotiations, okay? So either you use a stand to put your chopsticks this way, or you put it on the top of your bowl or plate, it's okay. But do not stand them inside the rice. Next, please. Okay, business etiquettes, forms of address. Just now, I mentioned briefly how to address the other person. The safest way is to address them by rank or position. You say the director so-and-so or manager so-and-so. If they don't have a rank or position, you address them by their profession, engineer so-and-so or professor so-and-so. So by respected forms of seniority, for example, a little kid will call someone a male person at about the same age of his father. He would say uncle so-and-so, or aunt so-and-so at the age of her mother. It does not mean that they have kinship relations. It's just a form of respect. Next is the practice of taking a Western given name. In my own case, as you can see, I put in this video, I call myself Sophie, though my name in Chinese is called Xiaoshu, and Zhu is my family name. You guys have difficulty in pronouncing these names. So to be friendly to you guys, I just took a Western name, Sophie, for myself. This is a common practice for many Chinese going abroad. So if you know that, it will be helpful to you as well. Okay, Chinese culture conditioned behaviors. Chinese modesty. People in China tend to be modest. If someone says to you, wow, you have really rich intercultural communication experience. Oh, wow, you speak so many languages. I would say, oh, that's the requirement of my job. You know, I won't say, oh, I'm a capable person, you know, foreign languages is nothing for me. Okay, I won't express anything like that. Indirectness. So if we want to say something, it's not vital, especially in negotiation situations. Or in other situations as well. Sometimes we tend to be indirect, but you have to catch the importance of indirectness. You will read their facial expressions. You will diagnose something from their tones, and actually get what they really mean. Chinese concept of face, understatement, with sometimes to be friendly. We say, oh, you know, that's not a problem, meaning that that's okay. Okay, we don't say actually, oh, that's okay, that's more than okay. We say, oh, it shouldn't be a problem. That means it's okay. Chinese virtue, we have the virtues of being thrift, and we respect seniors, etc. Chinese way of giving advice, we say, why don't you do something? It does not mean we want to intrude into your personal life. We are just giving advice. Oh, why don't you put on more clothes? You know, it's so cold in Beijing in winter, something like that. Okay, that's the Chinese way. Okay, next, please. About some nonverbal behaviors, gestures. Okay, you can look at the two pictures on the screen. The left one is okay. We do it this way. Okay, watch. We do it this way. Come here, come here. We don't do it this way because the second way, this way, is not very good. It means a man is trying to do something not very good with a woman. You understand? So don't do it this way. It's really bad. You do it this way. It means coming here. Handshake, I have already said something about that, a firm handshake, but you cannot shake someone's hand and will not let it go, especially between the different genders. It means that you are not so good. And a hug, we don't usually hug. That's our cultural practice. Even if, let's say, I will go home and I see my mom, I may pat on her shoulder and say, Mom, I'm back. I may not hug her, okay? So between colleagues, it's even less. But nowadays, we have learned the Latin American way. We may hug with you guys. Standing distance, usually between someone who are not so familiar with each other. We are the safest standing distance is about 1 meter in between, okay? So especially between you and your boss, between you and your female colleague, at least a meter, a meter in between, yeah? Okay, walking sequence. Also pay attention to the hierarchy thing. The one with the highest rank goes first and then followed by his or her subordinates, usually half a step after, yeah? Okay. Looking at someone in the eye but not staring. If you talk to someone, you'd better look at him in the eye but not staring. If you fix your eyes on them, it will be very impolite. Okay. Okay, that's about some nonverbal behavior. Okay, the Chinese concept of time. If you don't understand what is a monochronic time or polychronic time, you can refer to the little picture on the right-hand corner. In cities, especially big cities like Beijing and Shanghai, we do adhere to M time. That is, people stick to time schedules strictly. Okay, if I say, Professor Victor, let's meet at 9 tomorrow. 9 a.m. tomorrow. I will be there at least 10 or 15 minutes beforehand. If I'm there 5 minutes beforehand, before 9, I'll say, oh my gosh, I'm a little bit late, you know? So if we say we meet at 9, it means 9, exactly 9 sharp, okay? So this thing I have to remind you guys, especially you guys from Latin America. You guys are not strict with time. If you say 9, it may be 9:15 or even 9:30. In China, if you do that, you will ruin the business negotiation, believe me. So if you make an appointment with a Chinese person, try to be there on time, okay? Otherwise, it will be bad for you, really bad for you. In some rural areas, we do have some people say, okay, let's go to the open market tomorrow morning. So you could go at 9 or at 10 or even at 11. But in big cities, we don't do that. Okay, next one. Typical Chinese invitation to dinner. Okay, just now I said that Chinese are sometimes indirect and we are very polite. We are very, sometimes we do have understatements. Here, I want to give you an example. Typical Chinese invitation to dinner. Okay, this is between two colleagues. Colleague A says, okay, what about coming to dinner with me tomorrow? I want to thank you for your help with my project. And colleague B said, don't bother. I know you are busy yourself. And then if you are the colleague A, you should insist in this situation. You say, I am busy, but I have to find time to feed myself. Is that right? You are just keeping me company. It's all about finding time to talk. Okay. You should learn the pattern of this sentence because when you make invitations, other Chinese people will reject culturally at the first try. But if you sincerely want to make the invitation, you should insist. That's the way to insist. I am busy, but I have to find time, blah, blah, blah. And then if you are colleague B, you should say, if you put it this way, I guess I should accept your invitation. If you see that the other person is sincerely making the invitation, if you reject further, it will be implied. So you should accept the invitation in this case. That's the next note you should take in your notebook. Then if you are colleague A, you say, wonderful. In that case, I will meet you downstairs at 5:30 p.m. tomorrow after work. And then colleague B, all right, but promise me that you won't spend too much on that dinner tomorrow, okay? A, okay, see you then. Okay, that's the Chinese way of making invitations and accepting invitations. This should be cultural for you. You should remember this pattern in order to use it in China or in order to accept invitations in China. As I said, the reminder is that the Chinese way of paying for dinners, usually we don't pay AA. We just pay in a way we call it a collective. This time you pay, next time I will pay. Okay, it goes automatically without having to be reminded. To sum up this part, I said a brief history and the present demand that China and the Latin American and Caribbean countries maintain a good relationship historically and presently. Mutual economic dependence fosters the relationship. Right now, I just showed you some figures and you know that. To understand China better will enable you to negotiate better with people from the Chinese culture. So I just now talked about some features of Chinese communication, the way they make invitations, even the way they present their name cards. So if you can remember some of it, it will be helpful for you. Okay, now let's go to the negotiation part. Okay, part 2 is about negotiation. international or cross-cultural business negotiation. Okay, in terms of negotiation, I want you guys to remember 4 things. The first one is the strategies, and the second is the tactics, and the third is skills, and the next thing is the interests. Strategies is why you go to negotiations. Yeah, what do you want to do there? Tactics, how to realize your strategies. Yeah, skills, how to present each sentence you want to say. And the interests, what are the best interests for your side? What do you want to actually get from a certain negotiation? You understand this topic? Okay, now let's come to the book, my book. And I published this book last year, in December last year, together with a colleague. It's published in Shanghai. The good news for you is that thanks to Professor and Dr. Thomas Law, the Portuguese version of this book will come out next year, most probably at the beginning of next year. So you can pay attention. And then when we publish that, we'll announce it openly. So for you guys to get a copy, yeah? Okay, we say all of us are, okay, no, please return to the program. Yeah, we say all of us are engaged in negotiations daily, almost at a subconscious level, but many have not fully realized the importance of being a better negotiator. Our objective is to reach 4 reader groups, each of which have similar but distinct reasons to improve their negotiation skills. We say cross-cultural is more than international. Okay, I already said the Portuguese version. Okay. Negotiations typically involve intercultural or international situations. I said I want to reach 4 groups of readers with my book. The first group is comprised of students, typically business majors, who take negotiation classes. They will benefit from the insights and examples we provide in the book regarding the practical application of negotiation theories to actual real-life scenarios. These insights will provide baseline principles for them to use in solving the negotiation problems. That's the first group, students. The second, Professor Victor, the second please. The second group is academics who teach negotiation courses. Most academics seek to supplement their course materials with real-life examples of practical applications of negotiation theories to actual cases. The cases analyzed in this book are necessary adaptations of real-life cases that will provide academics authentic insights and examples to enhance their courses. Oh, by the way, in this book, the first part is the negotiation theory, and the second part is the negotiation cases. Okay, you will get a better idea of that when the Portuguese version is available. The third group is the negotiation trainers, people like me. There is an interesting realization by many business people of the critical importance of successful negotiation in their workplace, whether internally or externally. Oh, by the way, in this book, we teach you how to negotiate with your bosses, with your subordinates, with your colleagues of the same level, yeah? So you will find all that in this book. This realization is driving a need reach out to trainers to increase their negotiation proficiency. Similar to the academics above, the cases analyzed in this book are real-life cases that will provide trainers authentic insights and examples to leverage and to enhance their courses. So if you are a negotiation trainer, after reading this book, you will have better materials and better tactics and techniques in training the trainees. Next, please. The fourth group is the general public, who are increasingly realizing that they engage in negotiations in many aspects of their daily lives. We say people clearly understand that developing the negotiation strategies, tactics, skills, etc., that are taught in this book can meaningfully improve their lives. For example, during my training sessions, I gave the example. I said, in one family, there are 4 brothers and sisters, and after the father died, and the 4 siblings want to move their mother to a smaller apartment, and then they want to share they want to sell the old apartment and then get the money, etc., etc. Some real life situations like this will also be mentioned in the book. So if you want to learn negotiation, we just call the book from theory to practice. We just want to make it a perfect combination of negotiation theory and real life cases. Next, please. Sections of this book. The book is broken into 2 broad sections. The first part is negotiation theories, which will enable readers to develop an overall understanding of fundamental negotiation strategies, tactics, and skills. The second is negotiation cases, a presentation of selected real-life cases, followed by a detailed analysis and the application of fundamental negotiation principles. We believe our approach to this book will allow the 4 targeted reader groups below to successfully understand and apply fundamental negotiating principles, while also providing them lasting principles or guidelines for being better negotiators. So that's the ultimate goal of our book. You will become a better negotiator after learning this book. There are those lucky few that are considered born negotiators, having an innate mastery of negotiating that sets them apart from the rest. While this may be true, we believe everyone can become an excellent negotiator, whether in business or in real life or in everyday life. By learning fundamental negotiation principles, including seeing them applied in the real life cases in this book, readers will be positioned to negotiate more efficiently and more effectively. It will be surprising how much better a negotiator readers will be after reading this book. Oh, by the way, I was teaching this course at a university near São Paulo. Professor Thomas Lau know that. And after this course, you know what the trainees or what the students gave me as a feedback. They said, oh my gosh, I had never known that in my life that there was a course called negotiation. They all felt that they have become better negotiators. Next, please. The metaphor of negotiation. In Weiss, the words, Weiss is a negotiator scholar. He said, learning to be an effective negotiator is a journey, not a destination. To interpret or to translate. In other words, if one is learning negotiation, he's always on the way instead of arriving at a destination. Even though I began to contact negotiation more than 2 decades ago, I still think I'm a fresh learner. I'm ready to learn anything, any theory. I'm prepared to know more negotiation cases, especially those that can be applied to real life. So I strongly advise you guys to do that. Okay, the following is the table of contents of the book. The chapter 1 is a general introduction to negotiation. Chapter 2 is negotiation strategies. And starting from chapter 2 up till the last chapter, chapter 9, every chapter is followed by a negotiation case. As you can see, in chapter 2 is a negotiation case with a Siberian company. And chapter 3 is called skills and practical negotiations, questioning and listening. You know, in order to be a better negotiator, it's not enough that you go there, you bang, 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 you express all the things you want to say. You have to get the others' feedback, yeah? So you have to practice some core skills in how to listen, how to talk, how to answer questions, how to raise questions, something like that. That will be dealt with in chapter 3. And also a case with a Spanish company. Next, please. Chapter 4 is a negotiation, cross-cultural communication. Why is a negotiation also a case of cross-cultural communication? We'll talk about that in chapter 4. And then followed by the case of negotiation with an Italian company. And then chapter 5 is negotiation tactics. In this chapter, we talk about what is a win-win, what is adversarial tactics in negotiations. And then in this very chapter, followed by a case of negotiation with a Brazilian company. Chapter 6 is the interest and the medium issues in business negotiations. Interest, meaning what you can get. For example, in the negotiation of soybeans between China and Brazil, what is the best you can get for the Brazilian side and what the best for the Chinese side, etc. That's the interest issue. Medium issue, we mean whether negotiation is conducted face-to-face or online or by telephone or sometimes by what we are doing by Zoom or whatever. Yeah, that's the medium issues. In different mediums, we adopt different ways of, or we pay some extra attention to some specific things. So that's the medium and interest and medium issues. Chapter 7 is a common business. Chapter 7 is a common business negotiation resolution processes and the related documentation. In this chapter, we'll talk about you all understand what is an agreement, yeah? What is an agreement? What is a contract? What are differences between these genres? And also, if the other party doesn't honor the contract, should you go to court or should you go to arbitration? And some problems associated with going to court or going to arbitration. And the problems and the cautions you should pay attention to, something like that. And followed by a case with a Brazilian company, British company, sorry. Chapter 8 is about negotiation at work, in work situations, how to negotiate with your boss and how to negotiate, for example, if you want a raise in your salary, how do you mention it with your boss? When to bring up the topic and how to bring up the topic is very practical. And how to negotiate with your colleagues, how to negotiate with your subordinates, things like this. And chapter 9 is putting everything together. It's tactics, preparation, execution, and follow-up. That is how to cultivate yourself so that you will become a better negotiator. And followed by the case of a negotiation with a Swiss company. Okay, all these contents have been translated into Portuguese and we'll publish the book ASAP, okay? Hopefully by the beginning of next year, you will see the Portuguese version of this book. If you're, if you don't prefer to read it in English, you will have the Portuguese version. The translation has already been completed, and we are just waiting for the process of being published. I can promise you that. Okay. In order to give you a better idea of what it is, I will give you a sample of chapter 1, which is very short. In every chapter, we have structured our text this way. First, we list the learning objectives. For example, in chapter 1, we wrote, after learning this chapter, students should be able to have a basic understanding of what negotiation is, should know the common types of negotiations, should understand the influence factors of negotiation. So, next, please, Professor Victor. So, the stereotyped image of negotiation. The word negotiation often triggers a mental picture of two teams of negotiators seated on the opposite sides of a table, presenting their case, debating their finer points of two different views of the same issue. For many, this is a stereotyped image of a negotiation. However, in real life, negotiations are much more pervasive and involve a broad swath of issues, including price, deadlines, contract terms, and even what to have for dinner. You know, negotiation doesn't have to happen just at a negotiation table, okay? It can happen anywhere in your life situation. That's the thing. What is negotiation then? We say fundamentally, negotiation is about human communication. In reality, we all negotiate more frequently than we realize and actually do it on the subconscious level. The pervasiveness of negotiating in all aspects of our lives puts a premium on being a great negotiation, not only in our professional lives, but also our personal lives. Okay. To give you an example that took place 2 or 3 weeks ago, my colleague who arrived here in Sao Paulo wanted to rent an apartment. And after seeing the apartment, the owner and my colleague agreed on everything. The owner suddenly said, in order to sign a contract, I need to have a report of your, I don't know what is the term for that. That is your credit standard. That is whether you are a reliable person, whether you pay your credit, something like that. I told my colleague, I said, don't do that because this is unreasonable on the part of the owner. You have been here only for a week. You don't even have a credit card. You have not even applied for a credit card. How can you come up with a credit report? This is irrational and unreasonable. You just send a message to the owner saying that if you require that, I'm afraid I have to reconsider signing the contract because you are being unreasonable. If you start from this trust between you, owner, and me, the renter, how can we cultivate a good relationship with each other? You see? By this example, I just want to show you negotiation doesn't have to take place around the negotiation table. It takes place every day, everywhere, in every aspect of our life. Okay? Next, please. So, for example, we want to give you a definition of negotiation. You don't know what negotiation is, how to define it? We say negotiations have been studied as a phenomenon of complex nature. As it is pointed out by Chaudhary, negotiation is a process, not a single skill. A range of skills are involved in handling this process effectively, but to identify the skills which are relevant to any particular negotiating episode, it is important to recognize which elements or principles of negotiation are involved. Another scholar, Roland, stated that negotiation is a process by which we obtain something from somebody who wants something from us. Roland also believes that it is at its most basic level, negotiation is the process of an exchange. Okay, the sources are below, you can see. Scholars have different definitions for negotiation, but our definition, next slide, please. Our summary of negotiation, we say our definition of negotiation is that any discussion for any purpose which involves an issue acceptably to both parties. Inherent in this definition is the acknowledgement that a negotiation involves at least two parties. They have a mutual need to resolve a common issue. Okay, to put it in the present situation, China and Brazil need to solve the soybean issue. Yeah, a logical conclusion one may reach regarding a negotiation is that it is inevitable that one party wins and the other party loses. While this may result, this is not always the case. That's why we have win-win tactics. Okay, win-win solutions. It doesn't have to be like that. One party wins, the other party loses. Okay. Okay. Another important point. Okay, next, please. Another important point inherent in our definition of negotiation is that the requirement that both parties are negotiating in good faith to resolve the issue at hand. If you come to a negotiation with bad faith, it's not good. Negotiations won't result in something good, okay? If one party does not have clear intent to negotiate, no amount of negotiation by the other party will achieve a negotiated resolution. This is not to say that a willing party cannot persuade the unwilling party to negotiate, but rather without the honest intent to negotiate by both parties, negotiation will not work. So the second thing is that you have to come to negotiation with good faith. Two common types of negotiations. One is the distributive, and the other is the integrative. Okay, these are the two common types. At the beginning, I also said there are many types of negotiations, including specific types of negotiations inside organizations and institutions, or they can be rational discussions for decision-making purposes, leveraging strong communication skills. But these two are really the most common types. The first type, distributive, it means that typically associated with a single issue, and the total benefit of a negotiation is a fixed pie to be shared by the parties. In this case, if one party receives more, the other party will resultantly receive less. This type of negotiation is also referred to as a zero-sum type of negotiation or bargaining. The other type is integrative negotiations. Typically involves multi-issue trading. It is more practical and regards negotiation as a joint problem solving. Okay. Characteristics of negotiations. The characteristics of negotiation are usually present in the vast majority of human interactions, ranging from daily routines to international business deals. According to Roland, negotiations are typically influenced by three intangible things. That is beliefs, attitudes, and behavior of the individuals, okay? So if you have different beliefs, you have different attitudes, or you have different behavior, you will have some significant influence on the negotiation process or even result. Kinds of interests in negotiations. Negotiators typically have two kinds of interests in their negotiations. The primary interest in the substance being negotiated. Each wants to reach a fair agreement that satisfies their substantive interest. To relate this primary interest to the current situation, between China and Brazil. In terms of the soybean negotiation, China wants to get something. Brazil wants to get something. But what is the secondary interest? Is the relationship between their counterpart negotiator. So if you want to ruin the relationship after this very negotiation, you can do it. But if you want to maintain the relationship, you can also negotiate in a way that you can get not only the substance, but also maintain the relationship. Understand? That's the two kinds of interests. Oftentimes, ongoing relationship, oftentimes the ongoing relationship can be more important than reaching a resolution or a solution to the substance of the problem. Frequently, this occurs when negotiators are connected in some way. For example, they are friends, boss, and employee, business colleagues, or partners. Okay, so to return to the question I raised for you at the beginning of my lecture, I said, if you were sent to represent Brazil in the negotiation of soybeans between Brazil and China, what would you do? Okay, what would you consider important? How would you maintain the relationship and get the substance you want? Okay. If you want to ruin the relationship, it's easy. It's a one-time strike. Boom, that's it. But if you want to maintain the relationship and get the interest you want at the same time, you need a lot of consideration and a careful planning and a careful negotiation. Have I made my point? Okay, next one, please. Psychological factors affecting parties to a negotiation. So, you know, when you go to a negotiation, after all, you are a human being. You are subject to the influence of the following factors. That is how comfortable each feels about a conflict, how each perceives or misperceives the other, the assumptions each makes about the other and the problem, the attitudes and the expectations about the other, the decisions each makes about the trust. Trust is of supreme importance in negotiation. If you ruin trust, that's easy. One-time strike, boom, you ruin the trust. But to rebuild trust is the most difficult thing in the world, or at least one of the most difficult. And how important winning is to you. If you term everything as winning or losing, it's hard. And how important it is to avoid conflict, how much one likes or dislikes the other party, how important it is not to look foolish, or you think, oh, I want to look smart or look intelligent. I don't want to look foolish. Okay, all these factors, psychological factors, influence you as a person when you go to a negotiation. Negotiation, in essence, it is worth noting that all negotiations are interactions between human beings. That's the first thing. The second is people often have different emotions, values, cultural norms, frames of reference, life expectations, backgrounds, and viewpoints. These factors, as opposed to the rational, substantive issues being negotiated, conspire to make negotiating the unique art that it is. We often do not know the people we are negotiating with, so we may not definitely know how they will behave in negotiation situations. To relate this statement to my self-introduction at the beginning of the lecture, I said, when you go to a negotiation, you typically size the other person up, meaning you measure him in terms of your guess what his background would be, from observing his behavior, what information you can get, etc., yeah. Therefore, understanding these differences, that these differences likely exist, interpreting their impacts on the individual being negotiated with, the calibrating your negotiation strategy to that person are critical success factors. So you have to know these factors. Okay, next, please. Recommendations for learning negotiations. 1, like it or not, we are involved in negotiations more frequently than we realize. Therefore, it is vital for us to develop the negotiation mindset and the supporting skills. Negotiation mindset, I have mentioned this for the first time in the book here, but negotiation mindset is that you should know negotiation in essence is giving and taking. You cannot say, I want to take all the time. You are not the center of the world. Why should others revolve around you? You should be able to, or you should be prepared to give up something at the meantime of getting something. Yeah, you should have that mindset. And also supporting skills. Okay. We believe that the best way to learn negotiation is to learn negotiation strategies, tactics, and skills, and integrate and sharpen them through purposeful practice. So luckily in this book, you will have all this. If you learn this book, and if you try to practice them and deliberately, you will be a better negotiator. Next, please. Recommendations number 2. We analyze the learning, that learning negotiation is like the fable story of the blind man and the elephant. You all know this story, huh? In the story, the 6 blind men each said the elephant was like something they felt, like a wall, like a rope, like a fan, etc. Because they all happened to place their hands on the different body parts of the elephant. In total, their points of reference would define an elephant. Similar to a negotiation, we should strive to see all the angles of the matter and our counterpart negotiator. Then we will be positioned to realize all the rational and personal nuances of the negotiation, and thus calibrate our negotiation strategy accordingly. Key takeaways of the chapter. We just summarize it, what is negotiation and the types of negotiation. Next, please. And then there's some basic arguments we mentioned, like the influencing factors of negotiation, beliefs, attitudes, behavior, etc. And then we say the best way is to put theory into practice. Okay, next. So the above is chapter 1, introduction to negotiation. Now I want to mention some specific issues that we talked about in our book, in other chapters. These are important ones. Oh, by the way, now we are at slide number 60. 6 more to go. Don't worry, yeah. So I will finish this finish mentioning these important points, and then we will stop. And I'm ready for questions. Yeah. Okay. The first thing is yes. To differentiate wants and needs in negotiation is the first lesson you should learn. What are wants? Wants correspond to the positions both parties take in conflict. The needs correspond to their prospective underlying interests. There is a direct relationship between issues, wants, and needs in negotiation. Negotiators express different wants depending on their perspective of the issue. Okay, I know we are running out of time. My lecture is a little bit long, but still I want to give you this very example. I'm sure that those of you who have kids will like this story. You know, a colleague of mine came to me one day and said, Sophie, I have a thing to ask for your opinion. I said, what? And she said, my son has found a job and he has just started working. I said, so what? She told me that her son said, "Mom, I want to buy a new car." My colleague replied, "Why?" "I want to go to work." You know, that's the conversation on the first day. So on the same day, she came to me for a solution. I said, you know, to relate this example to negotiation theories, your son actually wants some means of transportation to go to work with. He can use a bicycle because your family is not, your house is not far from his company. You can fix your used car, or he can do carpooling. You see? So to relate this example to the negotiation theory I have just mentioned of wants and needs, the boy wants a new car, is the want. What he actually needs is a reliable means of transportation, okay? So if you understand the difference in negotiations, you can do a far better job. Got the story? Okay, if you don't understand, I can repeat that in the question and answer session. Yeah, other issues. Okay, other issues concerning currencies. Currencies here does not mean USD or Mexican pesos or Brazilian reais. No, it means resources. Resources can be tangible or intangible. Financial, people, facilities, equipment, priorities, information, recognition, rewards, proprietary agreements, mitigation of risks. In fact, this is the topic of a whole class. I can't go to detail for that. Luckily, you guys are all familiar with these concepts. But I do have one thing to mention about the resources. That is, in negotiations, you use your resources effectively, efficiently, and economically. If you can trade one resource to get the result you want, don't do it with two. Understand? That's the thing. So actually, these need a lot of explanation. I'm sorry, it's all done in the book, but I can't do it here because of time. Next, please. Other key issues in negotiation: understanding negotiation power. Negotiation power has to do with whether it is the buyer's or the seller's market. However, it also depends on how well prepared, in the sense of how well you can satisfy your partner's needs you are for a certain situation. Preparation improves your confidence level and your perception of power. For example, in the case of soybean trade between Brazil and China, what do you think? Or how do you evaluate the situation? Do you think China has more power or Brazil has more power? I don't want to give you any conclusive remarks, but you can think for yourself, yeah? But if you prepare if you go to the negotiation and prepare to solve the problem with other resources, you may get the result you want. Next. Other key issue in negotiation is that negotiate for a win-win outcome. In a true win-win, both parties meet their underlying need, and the relationship is sustained or improved in the process. Thus, how you negotiate as well as what you negotiate affects the outcome, whether it's a win-win, win-lose, or lose-lose. If you have cultivated a good relationship with your Chinese partner, a negotiation partner, it means more business for you, especially in China. So actually, we have other topics like win-win and adversarial tactics, but it's not in this set of slides. Because of time, I don't think I can go to that. So if you need that, we can do it in a separate lecture. Yeah. So that's basically the last slide with content. So thank you very much. And you can see the plane has taken off. So it's time for questions. Thank you very much. And questions, our comments are welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I apologize for the background noise. I'm sorry about that. I can't really do anything about it.
No, it's not a problem. Just a problem. I want to stop sharing, to interrupt sharing here.
Thank you very much, Professor Victor, for playing the PPTs for me.
Well, I can't interrupt the sharing about now, but I need to.
We just leave this image there.
I don't know if I can ask a question, Professor Victor,
yes,
to Professor Sophie. So Professor Sophie, I want to congratulate you. A very clear explanation of how to do business with China. I insist this is very important for Latin Americans because you know, now I teach in China. I teach Chinese students, so they are learning the cultural business etiquette from Latin America, and they can understand it very well. And China has a long experience of doing business with the Middle East, with Europe, with Asian countries and African countries, and now they are developing this ability with Latin America, and they always very active in understanding the cultural values. So we should do the same as Latin Americans. So it's great for Brazil, it's great for all the Latin American and Caribbean countries, the LAC countries, that you are there. So I'm very happy that this is happening because I'm serving the same purpose on the opposite way in China. So I want to ask you a question. In the year 2018, I went to Chile, and there's a Society for Production, a very powerful business association in Chile. They were hosting a seminar on how to benefit from the U.S.-China trade conflict. After that, the Chileans start selling more cherries and start selling pork that was not included in the initial negotiations. And after the tariff situation, by which the U.S. elevated the tariff and China had same countermeasures toward the U.S. So Latin America, in a way, Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and other countries that prepare themselves for that purpose gain more market in the Chinese buying power. But what's your prediction? Because it seems like the recent conversation might bring some type of better situation for the U.S. and China. And China has offered to buy soybeans from the U.S. Will that stop the increase, the rate of increase of the buying power of China into Latin America, especially for the Brazilian products? And of course, that if that happens, then that will also impact other products from our region, because like you said very clearly, we need each other. Latin America and China need each other. And with the US, we compete in certain products, like Brazil competes soybeans, and this is why recently many farmers in the US were very angry for the 20 billion rescue package to Argentina, because they say the next day Argentina signed with China another buying of soybeans while they're not selling anything. So this is my question. Will the US China normalization, is this in your mind? This will happen. I hope at some moment it happens because it's good for the world, but will it affect Latin American export power into China?
Okay. To answer your questions and to relate to what I have just talked about. The first thing is that for Latin Americans and for others as well, if you want to do business with China, you have to maintain a good relationship with China. Okay, it's not you turn around and say something bad about China, and then you come back, you say, I want you to buy more soybeans from us. It doesn't work that way. You have to know not to touch the others, the hot point, you know. And you should know what to say and what not to say. You should understand what is important to the other party. That's the first thing. And the other thing is that to cultivate trust, I strongly advise you to take notes of that, especially between Latin Americans and Chinese. If you learn to cultivate trust, you will win, or you will at least get a good market share in China. In our Chinese philosophy, we say in the world, there are people who are dressed in red, and also those who put on green clothes. In other words, we have different people and different sorts of negotiators or countries or partners in this world. Okay, if I were the one who can choose, I would certainly choose the ones that have the best relations with me and whom I think the most reliable. Okay, try to establish the image that you are reliable. Okay, reliability is says a lot about you as a person or as a country or as a negotiation partner. I said to my colleagues here in Brazil, I said, you know, between me and ordinary professor who represent my university here, we work on we cooperate on a daily basis. But if you prove yourself as not reliable, even in small things like responding to instant messages, I send you a message on Friday and you didn't answer until next Monday. How can I trust you? Okay, I may not say anything afterwards, but in my mind or deeply in my heart, I won't trust you anymore. I may not say it. I may not express it explicitly, yet I have this idea that you are not so reliable in my mind. When I have something I can choose from, I need something, I need cooperation in the future, I can choose from A, B, C, or D. I will range them in terms of reliability and the trust level. I will pick the one who is the most trustful or most reliable. You see, that's the thing. But you know, China is such a large market. If you take time and you take effort, make an effort in building a good relations with the Chinese partners, you know, negotiation or cooperation partners, chances are that you will get a good opportunity or a good market share in China. Have I answered your question? Thank you. Thank you.
Professor Thomas.
Thank you, Professor. Very clear.
Thank you.
Yes, Professor Sophie, congratulations to your lecture today. It was really good. And I have also a question. I think you answered part of it, but I'll say the question here. What are the main challenges and strategies for dealing with the differences in interpersonal communication between Brazilians or Latin Americans who tend to be more direct and informal? And for example, the Chinese people who often value more the harmony and indirect communication.
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you for the question. In fact, I also mentioned that in my lecture. If you come to a negotiation or a cooperation with good faith, you don't have to worry about the subtle things like being direct or indirect. For example, I can be very indirect and still get to my point. Okay. For example, I was answering Professor Hector's question. I said this and that. Instead of asking, do you understand? I said, have I made my point? You see, indirectness does not mean that you cannot get to the point. You can still get to the point. You can do it by reconfirmation, re-questioning, rephrasing, etc. And if you want to see whether the other one is reliable, we say words don't show, but actions do. That is, I will not understand you as a person, but from certain things, from previous cooperation or from other things, from others' comments of you, I will get a better idea of what kind of person you are, whether you are a reliable partner or not.
Excellent, Sophie.
Thank you very much.
Professor Sophie, thank
Yeah.
you very much for your outstanding lecture. We have a lot of questions coming.
Give me some.
Yes. But I want you to sum up with 2 points here. But the
Yes.
first is the Confucian philosophy important to understand, or can I get closer to the Chinese culture with the Confucian philosophy? Is that real? Is that real that the Confucianism is important to understand all the behavior of Chinese, or it's not a way for understanding, specifically in negotiation? It has to do, or it's not the way to understand Chinese people?
Okay. Before I answer your question, if I ask you, how do you think Brazilians are similar to the Portuguese in Portugal? If I ask you that question, how would you sum up the similarities and the differences?
My way of thinking, the first similarity is the language, first of all.
What about the cultural aspects?
And then culture.
People's mindset or way of thinking.
Religion and the European culture that come here with them, but I think would be language and religion and
yes,
another way of culture. Yes.
Okay. You see, you won't regard yourselves the same or totally identical with Portuguese, will you?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
we are way different.
Confucianism is the same thing. So we have some basic principles that is handed down from Confucianism, like the virtues of Chinese being diligent, and we keep our promises. We cooperate, we respect seniority, something like that. We have some basic principles that are handed down from Confucianism. We still adhere to them to the present day. Yet, this is, if you just study Confucianism, you will not understand China as a whole. The whole picture, it has some certain influence from Confucianism, but it is not everything that is related to Confucianism. Have I expressed my idea?
Thank you very much. No, it's all clear. Thank you very much. I have another questions. I try to mix in only one, if I could. When you understand, when we've seen your lecture, you've seen that there are a lot of difference, and for sure we want to get close to the Chinese culture to have a more efficient negotiation, but it's impossible to have it from the night to the day. So how is there a tip or a piece of advice just to say a way of saying, oh, I'm trying to learn your culture, I'm new, and so I can have we can have some misunderstanding because it's different for me, because if not trying to relate to have a necessary link between and lack of culture and bad behavior of mine. So could help us to introduce for the China's difference, trying to be polite or saying that we are trying to understand the difference. And another question close to that, and I think it's, we know that we are always group, and we are South American, we're Latin American, and we know that our country our countries have good position and in some matters, but in other way we are every delay, every violence of every delay of a Latin American, every corruption scandal or ever violence problem here in our country, it's a lack of, it's a jeopardy in our reliability. How can I say that, oh, I'm a Latin American, but I'm trying to, for example, to be sharp in my meetings, or I'm trying to be different or we are different for what you see on TV and something like that. I have this question because in Europe we have to be realistic and cope with sometimes the bad image, not of our people, but we in the negotiation. It's not a good image. And how can we cope with this bad image that sometimes we have as a group of people, but in negotiation specifically, or it's a misunderstanding of mine, this kind of image of the Latin American negotiation.
Okay, thank you very much for the questions. To answer your questions in a very effective way, I strongly advise the following. One, to develop the negotiation mindset. That is, by negotiation mindset, I mean that you have to understand the world in terms of negotiation. If you want to trade something, and you should be prepared to give up something, and at the meantime of taking something. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you are not the center of the world. Not everybody should revolve around you. You should people, not you. I mean, people should understand that. And the next thing is that develop the consciousness of or the concept of lifelong learning. Even though we are professors, we are PhDs, postdocs, and it's not sufficient. We should always keep on learning, live and learn. I didn't know much about Latin Americans before I actually lived here. Now I'm learning on a daily basis. I learned the Portuguese language first, and I was accompanying all the courses in business administration at the present university. And by doing that, not only I could learn the contents, but also I learned the way that Brazilians think. You know, learning takes time. That's the next thing. And the third thing is that you want to do it effectively and efficiently. We can do training. As I mentioned, I'm a negotiation or intercultural business negotiation trainer. So if you think some guys really need to go to China to conduct business negotiations or to do business, we can organize training sessions. In the training sessions, I can give you some cases. Actually, we divide the groups into two, one representing the Brazilian side and one the Chinese side. When they negotiate, they will understand what negotiation is all about. And especially during the period when they are they actually negotiate. I observe their behavior and tell them, okay, this is where the Brazilian thinking comes into play. And that's the Chinese way of thinking. So the most efficient or effective way is to organize the training sessions. So for our learners, for the students in this course, if they need more explanation, and the best way to do is to give them the course. You know, the course is actually a semester-long course. I was trying to squeeze as many things as I could possibly have done into this present lecture. So not everything is so clear. So if we need more, I can do it, but not today. We can do it in a separate session.
Thank you very much. We have another question, but we have a lot of compliment. Fantastic, outstanding, excelente, fantástica.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We look forward to your book in Portuguese, and we know, Professor Thomas, that next week Professor Sophie will be flying to Beijing, will be flying to China. She can't be with us, but Professor Sophie, em português for our audience, no dia 19, já estamos preparando, né, Thomas, falando de livros promovidos, about books that Ibrashina promote. No dia 19, a partir das 6h30, convidando todos os alunos que sejam de São Paulo, a gente sabe que tem muita gente fora, nós vamos lançar o Manual de Estudos Latino-Americanos, que tem Thomas e eu como organizadores, tem o professor Júlio como um dos participantes, e nós temos aqui, então já mostramos para vocês, mas vai haver o lançamento com vários autores, palestra, estão todos convidados a conhecer a sede do IbraWork, não é, Thomas? Dia 19 deste mês, a partir
Exatamente,
das
professor. Vou
18h30.
passar o endereço. É na Rua Augusta, 1917, no 6º andar. Fica próximo à Avenida Paulista.
Muito bem, então estaremos todos lá. Vamos trazer um professor que foi ministro da Defesa na Argentina, professor Jorge Seinfeld, vai ser, além de outros professores do Prolam que estarão conosco, vai ser uma honra receber a todos vocês lá. Unfortunately, we won't have this opportunity. Personally, Professor Sophie, because she should be in China, should be in China, but it would be great. But in the other lecture from in the 18th, as the you'll be here, yeah, with Professor Chong. That's our colleague, and Professor we have to finish
yes,
by 11 o'clock.
Longer than usual. Sorry about that.
And no problem. So, and we have another questions. I will collect that and send you by email if it's not a problem.
Yes.
And Professor Hector, thank you very much for being with us. Normally, the final speech, the final words are with Professor Sophie, but now our guests are here, so I'll ask for Professor Thomas and Professor Hector if you are there, because I know it's late night in China, or it's night in China. Professor Thomas, final words. Nós não vamos estar não vamos voltar para o Zoom. Agradeço a presença de todos os alunos. Eu às 11 tenho que terminar, tenho outro compromisso, mas agradeço muito. Estou deslumbrado com o rumo que o nosso curso está tomando e mantendo. Professor Thomas, please.
Obrigado, professor Vitor. Para encerrar os nossos trabalhos de hoje, parabenizar a professora Sophie pela forma que fez um trabalho aqui muito didático, né, passando passo a passo sobre questões de negociação, etiqueta, cultura chinesa. Então, mais uma vez, professora Sophie, thank you very much for your lecture. It was excellent. E eu quero aqui parabenizar mais uma vez o professor Júlio, o professor Vitor, pelo trabalho e pela condução também desta terceira aula do nosso programa. E a próxima semana, já fazendo um convite, falando um pouquinho do trabalho que é do Dr. Vidal, que vai falar um pouco dos bancos multilaterais, e ele mora na China há mais de 8 anos, então ele está agora na parte do Banco de Infraestrutura da Ásia. Então, só para fechar, agradecer mais uma vez a professora Sophie pela sua brilhante palestra, professora. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here, everyone, and Professor Victor for organizing this lecture, and Thomas for the introduction and the concluding remarks, and also Professor Hector from Beijing and other professors. I won't mention one by one. Thank you, all the participants here on VooV, on YouTube, or on Zoom, or whatever. If you need further information about the business negotiation, you are welcome to contact me and or Professor Victor, so that we can arrange further sessions or conversations or dialogue or whatever. Thank you very much, and have a nice day.
Thank you all, Professor. Thank you all.